Hi, this is Jim from Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
And from no longer at the border of liberty and prosperity, we are in the land of liberty and prosperity, recording from New Jersey. Yes, that is the motto of New Jersey. No longer on the border, we're actually in New Jersey. So I had mentioned last week, be prepared to see pre-recorded programs. This is one of them. It's summertime and we got stuff going on. How's everybody doing? I hope you're enjoying your weekend here. Some people got an extended weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Coming back on Wednesday. I know I had to cover for a couple of people. Hot. It sucks having a vehicle whose air conditioning broke. Believe me, I have my other vehicle that's in the shop getting some other repairs. So we hope to have air conditioning, because I tell you what, that smoke over the weekend was horrible. We're going to be talking about that later on in the show. What the hell? The whole world is coming apart. Riots in France. People at each other's throats in the United States. A block party gone bad in Baltimore. I don't know. I don't know what to say. So I'm going to open up the program today with the Wayback Machine. Well, it must have been 2008. Might have been 2009, July 3rd. July 3rd, 2023. I was stopped by the local paper, the Home News Tribune, for a man on the street interview. And the reporter asked me, she said, "Hey, what's tomorrow?" And obviously it's July 4th. And no, what does it stand for? And this is what I stated. My Aunt Joyce had it hanging up in her office for years, because she said it was probably one of the best things you've ever said up to that point. I said, tomorrow's Independence Day. It's when the Declaration of Independence was signed over in Philadelphia. And, later on it got distributed throughout the colonies because they did not have the internet in those days. Yes, there was a world without internet. And we declared ourselves independent from Great Britain. And this set up a new system of government from which the power comes from God and or nature. Now, if you're atheist, so that's okay. It's called natural rights. And it goes from God or nature to man, rather than God to monarch to man. This was radically different thinking for the time. And I tell you what, I lament that we've gone back to the other thing where we're relying on voices from high to tell us what to do all the time, and not asserting our rights, not going out there and realizing we're a free people, and getting all that stuff in there. No, am I bugging you about politics again? I'll bug you on politics. So I'm going to read to you, and I'd like to start a little tradition here. Where we read part of the Declaration of Independence, and we'll discuss about it. What this is here. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with one another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare that causes which impel them to separation. Now, where are we going with this? You're going to see where we're going with this. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving from their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute a new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. I'll cut it off right there. And it goes on and on and on. Okay, let's dissect this a little bit. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. All right, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That governments were formed, right, under our consent. That, right, when the government becomes destructive, we have the right to change it and everything. All right. We've fallen short a lot of times in our national life here of this whole thing that people are right, are endowed, right? All men are created equal. And back in the day, that's what they meant was men. We now know that that's everyone created equal. Not that they're, right, and they have equal rights. This is where this comes from. One of the places this comes from. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. It used to, the draft copy was property, right? But anyway, this is what it is. We have the rights. What do we have in OSHA? We have the right to a safe and healthful workplace free of recognized hazards. We didn't need the Occupational Safety and Health Act to tell us this. All of the government was there was to guarantee those rights, saying, hey, you were guaranteed these rights, right, with that. And the government does not give rights, my belief here, does not give rights. It can only affirm them and protect the rights and take them away with that, or impede them. Not specifically take them away, impede them. Remember, we're a government here where we actually have a written constitution. We have rights. There are a lot of countries, most countries don't have that, or the rights are very limited. A lot of them, like in Great Britain and in Canada, right to free speech. Northern Europe, the right to free speech. There is no right to free speech. We regulate the right to free speech, like in New York. That's why I'm very careful on what I say on the air with this, until I make all my money from this little thing we have here. I can't really say. I have no protections for libel, slander, or anything like that, or protecting my sources, because that's New York. But anyway, I digress. This is the federal Constitution. But here is something here, on here, right? Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience has shown, here you go, All experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. Sounds like a lot of workplaces out there, doesn't it? You put up with a lot of gówno until, and you can look up what gówno means, right? You put up with a lot of gówno. You're like, screw it. And you put up with more and more and more and more. And then you explode and you say, I'm out of here. Or you do something rash. Right? So mankind were more likely to do that. In this case, no, there was a lot of debate. We shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be doing that. Blah, blah, blah. But what am I going on here? This is your right to a safe and healthful workplace is something you have to assert. Right? Now let me follow up with this. We're all about here, everybody getting along. That's what, right? Because what happens is you have to have, now we fight the safety war here, but you have to have backbone to do that. That's part of what we're doing. It's coaching and backbone and leadership and everything else that goes along with that. So what I'm saying here, right, I have an article here by J.D. Tusil. This is from Reason Magazine. On Independence Day, find common ground over freedom. Pandemic policies, anti-terror efforts, and feuding factions erode America's liberty. What the gist of this article is this. All right, and it quotes a Monmouth University study that both sides, right, 55% of Americans are very concerned that their fundamental rights and freedom are under threat, with 63% of self-identified Republicans being somewhat more likely than 53% of self-identified Democrats, and independents, 51% feel this way. So a majority of people feel that their rights are of what type? No, Democrats are going to be on one set of rights, Republicans on one set, right? Sort of thing. At least you have something in common. And this whole thing with people, at each other's throats over this stuff, the rioting of the last couple of years, the whatever we were going to call that on January 6th, 2021. This is not a good place where we need to be going. We need to have dialogue. We need people to get along. And what happens is people aren't trusting their government anymore. What could we do about that? We have elections coming up. Hold them accountable at the ballot box. Whoever gets violent out there loses. And unfortunately, that's what we're seeing a lot of out there. Violence in many different forms. Be persuasive. Learn to be persuasive. That's one of my things that I don't, I'll be self-aware here. I haven't always been persuasive. But it's something that you need to learn rather than going out and being like France this weekend where everybody's on edge. They had a police shooting over there of an unarmed man. They had ended up with all different riots for the last 4 or 5 days with travel advisories saying don't go to Paris, or don't go to France because all this social upheaval. Got to take a chill pill here, guys. Debate, logic, reason, persuasiveness. Might makes right is not going to get us through these troubled times. But the other thing is this. What you can do, take this thing, except when you're listening to Safety FM on any of our programs, take this thing, turn it off. Here in the Northern Hemisphere, it's summer out. Go out and enjoy yourself. Do something constructive. Turn off that damn cell phone. Turn off the damn TV. Don't let these people manipulate you because this is what they're experts at, is manipulation. Whether you're listening to the right-wing media outlets or the left-wing media outlets, or even those in the middle. Don't let it be consuming. I let it consume me sometimes. I'll admit it one too. That's one of my things since I'm 8 years old. Right? With this. Prepared me for this, for doing this stuff. But there's a lot of stuff here where there's more agreement than disagreement. And this is according to the Associated Press, right, in 2020. A majority of Americans report that the government's goal of protecting the rights and freedoms of U.S. citizens is more important than the goal of making sure that the U.S. citizens are safe from being harmed by terrorists. However, the data reveal a downward trend since 2011 in the percentage of Americans who think the government is doing a good job protecting certain rights and freedom, and the majority now feels the government is doing a poor job at protecting the right to privacy. That's another one. The freedom to protest and to voice opinions were big losers. According to, right, this is Americans for Prosperity. By the way, I used to know the head of that organization. Released key findings and full prospects, a new survey that measures the U.S. general public's attitudes on the protection of civil liberties since the start of the pandemic. On every question asking about a specific civil liberty, more people feel that their civil liberties are less secure since the start of the pandemic than more secure. The freedom of the protest and to voice opinions were big losers, with plurality saying both had eroded. So I'm going to challenge the audience and everybody out there, learn to be more persuasive, go out there, get involved in your communities, go out there and be peaceful, but have a backbone. And we're going to cut to commercial break. We'll get to our normal stories here in the study. I don't know. I have nothing to really lecture on today other than everybody please get along.
In the professional safety community, communication and planning are just a few keys to your program's success. The question many practitioners have is, where do I start? Dr. Jay Allen, the creator of the Safety FM platform and host of the Rated R Safety Show, has built a global foundation to help you along the way. Go to safetyfm.com and listen to some of the industry's best and most involved professionals, including Blaine Hoffman with the Safety Pro, Sam Goodman with the Hop Nerd, Sheldon Primus with the Safety Consultant, Jim Pozell with Safety Wars, Emily Elrod with Unapologetically Bold, and many others. As individuals, we can do great things, but as a team, we become amazing. Dial into safetyfm.com today and surround yourself with a powerful force of knowledge and support.
OSHA recordables, catastrophic losses, environmental disasters. You want answers? So do I. This is Jim Posel with Safety Wars.
That's my daddy!
Okay, we are back, and let's see what our message is today. This is Safety Wars, broadcasting to our brothers and sisters in the occupied territory of behavior-based safety. Get out your secret decoder ring. Here is your nightly message.
Context drives behavior. Context drives behavior.
That was Mrs. Posel there. So, anyway. And that applies to our what I just said, our work forces here, our workplaces, whatever we're calling them. How long, what are you going to put up with safety issues? How long? That's a good question. How long are you going to put up with them? So, let's see what we got here. My mind is still on vacation. It was a long weekend filled with baseball. By the way, my son's team TBT White, New York, won the Stars and Stripes tournament. My son pitched 5 innings yesterday. U.S. Department of Labor finds a certain company could have prevented a fatal serious injury after a concrete pile struck an aerial lift over I-95 in 2022. A bridge construction contractor exposed workers as struck by hazards from unstable cranes. One worker died and a second needed a month's hospitalization from a serious leg fracture after falling 35 feet when a suspended concrete pile struck the aerial lift in which they worked in December 2022. Investigators with the department's OSHA learned that a 90-foot-long, 18 by 18-inch concrete pile weighing 35,000 pounds broke free of its restraints when the supporting crane shifted in unstable soil and then struck the lift's boom, causing 2 carpenters to fall into the roadway below. A 46-year-old worker suffered fatal injuries while his 52-year-old co-worker sustained serious leg injuries. This is all out of Miami. OSHA issued citations for 4 serious violations. A highway and bridge construction company specializing in complex major infrastructure projects in Florida for exposing employees who struck by hazards by not complying with federal safety standards as follows. Let's go right to the thing. Okay, this is citation. Come on, where is it? Citation 1, item 1, serious. 1926.402, 1402B, this is out of the crane standard. The equipment was assembled or used without ensuring the ground conditions are firm, drained, and graded to a sufficient extent so that in conjunction with the use of supporting materials, the equipment manufacturer, blah, blah, blah. So basically, the employer failed to provide ground conditions that were firm and adequate in support. $15,625. This is the employer using a Clark Lima 1500C crane with a modified swing control with a white box and toggle switch exposed employees to the hazard of being struck by a crane or load carried by the crane. $14,063. Citation 1. Item 3. No inspection. Had a conversation with somebody today about inspections. And this is, the equipment was not inspected, another inspection. So it was, for the 2 inspections, it was over, close to $28,000. A little bit over $28,000. And citation 2, other than serious, this is for $1,128. Under the crane standard, a load moment indicator was a crane with a broken load moment indicator was being used to lift a 78-foot long hammer or leader. Total of $58,942. U.S. Department of Labor recognizes a Colorado, that's LPR Construction Incorporated, structural steel erectors, 25 years of safety. So LPR Construction Incorporated from Loveland, Colorado, I've actually worked with them, they were on one of my projects, has maintained its STAR designation for 25 years. They got it renewed. Congratulations. So I don't know why they're doing this. Maybe this story will let us know. Obviously, yes, you want to express condolences, but I don't know why they're doing this in this venue. Department of Labor expresses condolences to families of 4 murdered Honduran union leaders. A U.S. Department of Labor Deputy Undersecretary for International Affairs, Tae Lee, issued the following statement regarding the murders in Coloma, Honduras on June 24, 2023. The U.S. Department of Labor expresses its sincere condolences to the families of the victims, including 4 trade union leaders, on the June 24, 2023 killings in Coloma, Honduras. And to all the people of Honduras who have experienced violence, we express our solidarity with surviving union leaders and members I can't even pronounce it, the network of Honduran Maquin unions, and the Central General de la Trabajadores. The 4 trade union leaders represented maquila workers at a factory that, just prior to the events of June 24th, announced its impending closure. Layoffs form part of a troubling global trend in a sector that is highly unionized in Honduras. We recognize and applaud the critical work of the leadership in striving to represent and negotiate on behalf of the affected workers. Okay. I guess that's just what you do when you issue statements like this. Here we have U.S. recommends Americans reconsider traveling to China due to arbitrary law enforcement and exit bans. You think it only took them until 2023 to figure this out? The U.S. recommended Americans reconsider traveling to China. I mean, I tell you what, I knew from day one when I turned 18, I'm too outspoken to go to these countries. I would probably be one of the ones ending up there. Right. The U.S. recommended Americans reconsider traveling to China because of arbitrary law enforcement and exit bans and the risk of wrongful detentions. No specific cases were cited, but the advisory came after a 78-year-old U.S. citizen was sentenced to life in prison on spying charges in May. It also followed a passage last week about sweeping foreign relations law that threatens countermeasures against those seen as harming China's interests. China also recently passed a broadly written counter-espionage law that sent to chill through foreign business community, with offices being raided as well as a law to sanction foreign critics. So my understanding is this. You could say stuff in another country, then go there and get arrested. So, I don't know. Here. So here we go. This was another. We covered this story last week. However, or the week before, but this gives us a little bit more context. This is from Autoblog, but it was on Yahoo News. Watch Texas TV meteorologist get sucker punched in a road rage incident. We're not used to hearing stories about meteorologists. Certainly, by the way, we did hear one this morning. Dr. Frank Field, who was a long-standing meteorologist from New York, the first meteorologist on TV in New York, passed away. Rest in peace. Over the weekend, he passed away, over 100. He was a World War II veteran. Anyway, I digress. Certainly not ones that involve death threats, right? We're not used to hearing stories about meteorologists. Certainly not ones that involve death threats and sucker punches, but it's been a trying couple of weeks for forecasters at CBS. In mid-June, Chris Glollinger with CBS affiliate KCCI in Des Moines quit his job after 18 years of business, citing a string of harassing emails and a death threat over climate change coverage. Later that month, Avery Tomasco, meteorologist for CBS Austin in Austin, Texas, dodged a sucker punch in a road rage incident that caught on his dash cam. Okay, so it's a new one. Now, this being Autoblog, we've seen our share of anger on the highways and byways. Even so, this incident has got to be one of the silliest to turn into an assault charge. As footage shows, Tomasco was emerging onto one of the feeder roads that run next to Texas highways. The other driver, of course in a Toyota Prius, I'm only joking on that, right, pulled into Tomasco's lane. Being totally fair, even if we understand the 7, Tomasco could have done a better job of braking as the Prius moved over, but things did not happen. When the Prius driver did not stop immediately, Tomasco followed him for a while until the Prius pulled over into the mall parking lot. Tomasco, who had his young daughter in the car, said he got out to take photos of his car and didn't speak to the man in the Prius. As Tomasco was doing this, the guy in the Prius walked up to him and swung. Right. The meteorologist moved his head in time to have only his cheek raised while his shoulder took the real punch. Recounting the event on Twitter, he wrote, "I yelled for help and got away from him as quick as I could. Thankfully, an off-duty police officer was nearby to help calm the situation. And road rage never wins." I tell people, don't F with people in cars. Don't mess around with them. It's nuts. You don't know what the guy has in there. I don't know. So anyway, a little thunder bender here, and then this escalates into this. I don't know. You can look up the video. I'm not allowed to show the video here. All right. A former OceanGate advisor said the Titanic submersible tried to reach the surface before it imploded, indicating those on board knew something had gone wrong. A former OceanGate advisor said the Titan sub dropped its weights before it imploded on June 18th. Robert McCollum told the New Yorker that it tried to ascend before losing contact with its mother ship. McCollum is at least the second person to say OceanGate tried aborting the dive before disaster hit. And it goes on and on. I don't know. I think that my opinion, they need to do a thorough investigation here and find out what the hell happened. Why? Because bad investigations lead to bad solutions. So when you're rushed and you're a safety professional, you're rushed to do an accident investigation, put that in your mind. Rushed investigations lead to rushed solutions that are usually wrong. Maybe I should write that down and I'll make a meme out of it. Hold on, let me write that down. We'll make a meme out of that, right? All right. Michigan's new distracted driving law starts Friday. Now, this is from last week. Here's what you can or can't do. So you put down the phone. Stricter distracted driving laws are going into effect in the state of Michigan on June 30th after Governor Whitmer signed new legislation earlier this month. Many drivers are wondering what they can or can't do on the road. Like, it was a good idea to go on the phone, right? No. If you want to write that novel that you always wanted to, do it at home, do it in a library, do it in a nice, calm place. Don't do it behind the wheel. We developed our last strategic highway safety plan, this is a quote, in 2019 and already have seen a reduction in the number of fatalities caused by distracted driving. These bills are another step towards reducing that number even further. Our goal is to see zero traffic deaths by 2050, and I know that by working together we can get it done. According to the governor's office, Ohio recorded a 9% drop in distracted driving in 1 month, preventing more than 500 crashes after the state introduced the hands-free law in April. Basically, with a few exceptions, the Michigan law makes all mobile device usage illegal while you're operating a vehicle. According to the law, the word operate means to drive or assume physical control over the motor vehicle on a public way, street, road, or highway, including operation while temporarily stationary because of traffic, road conditions, a traffic light, or a stop sign. What can't you do behind the wheel? Send or receive a telephone call. Send, receive, or read a text message. View, record, or transmit a video. Access, read, or post a social networking site. Okay. How are you going to enforce number one here? Send or receive a telephone call when everything's done remotely now. Voice activated, AI, the whole thing. Okay, what about this guy here? We just covered a story about the meteorologist in Texas that got assaulted. What do we have behind the wheel? We have what are called dashboard cameras. I got one. We can't operate that now? Really? I don't think, I don't know. The first one is unenforceable. The second one, I don't know what you're going to do. That's a safety feature, that dashboard camera. Now what happens if you record off of the dashboard camera? Is that now not admissible because you're going to be admitting to a crime for evidence? Ay, 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 ay. Here it goes. Anyway, we'll figure it out. We'll get there. We'll get right to that safety utopia that I hear people talking about. Here we have, and we hear about the UPS strike and this and that. All right, opinion. This from CNN Opinion from Terry Goldstern and Jenny Hunter from last week. UPS strike authorization vote is about more than just pay. Apparently, they negotiated this is not going to happen here. One of the things was what we were talking about here on Safety Wars, what a lot of the programs are talking about is heat stress, right? Here I'm on a site right now. Let me see if we could do that. I'm on a site right now. Let's see what do we have over here? We have right there the OSHA heat stress poster that came out this year. One of the things that UPS drivers were dealing with was this whole idea about the heat stress. No air conditioning in those step vans. One of them, OSHA is looking at, and what do they say? Safety, right? That's always. Environmental heat is responsible for 170,000 injuries a year and 600 to 2,000 fatalities. Obviously not all that work. So, a family of a 24-year-old victim said he died of extreme heat, and drivers took to social media and to share pictures of temperature readings of 120 or more in their trucks. Remember, 137 is the pain range, is the pain number that's often out there. And that's what's going on, and they're with that is heat stress. So what are you going to do? My air conditioning went out of my truck during this heat wave. It has not been pretty. A lot of yelling and a lot of screaming, a lot of gnashing of teeth here. So here we have, I got two stories. Let me get the other story together. Okay. These are two related stories here. I don't think any other program has put them together. The Green Police are coming for New York pizza. Environmental activists expect us to modify our lifestyles to meet the priorities. This is from Reason Magazine. More of a opinion, but let me comment on this so it's not an opinion. Mayor Adams and some other folks in New York City are looking at banning brick ovens for as in brick oven pizzas because they're adding to air pollution. All right. And they're recommending, regulators want 75% reduction in, 75% reduction in, I just realized the camera is way out of whack here. And emissions by restaurants that use traditional fuels for cooking it or baking, meaning wood. And the rule isn't finalized. It contains caveats that savvy business owners could use, blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, so we're going to go out there and we're going to sound good, basically. We're going to go out there, make a law, make a rule, just so we could go and say we did something, but in reality, it does gówno, as usual. Right? This seems to be a running thing. Our second story here. I don't know. I like brick oven pizza. It broke my heart when a national chain left my hometown because that was the only good pizza in town for a while was this thing. Now, someone else picked up the slack. Well, no, national, name brand, national chain restaurant, was famous for that. I mean, it was phenomenal pizza. I know my doctor says I'm not allowed to eat that, but, every once in a while. So, again, they're looking at reducing particulate emissions. We all know how bad it used to be. If you were experiencing any of this smoke or anything around here in New York, this is how it was back in the 80s with all the smoke and soot and everything else. That's how bad the air quality was. There was like this cloud of yellow particulate matter and pollution all over New York City up until like the early 2000s. You couldn't see it when you were in it, but you were far away, You could, you could see that. I tell you what, now they want to go more, and we got to remember, it's easy at the beginning, right? I forget which book, safety book, talks about the wedge. I think it's Sidney Decker's book. Really easy to get things at the beginning. Now we're going to get down, right, with the easy costs, all the clean air. Now we're getting down to nitty gritty. Now it's going to be big costs. Now, this is what the problem is with these big costs. They're not only financial, it's also choice. And people want free agency. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are a little bit annoyed over this. With this, there's going to be some pushback. And I tell you what, like we were saying at the beginning of the program, people are at each other's throats. I don't know if this is going to be a good thing on a cumulative or on a cumulative effect everywhere where you're going with this. I don't know. More and more laws. Again, safety laws. People are going to be saving lives with cleaner air. I get it. But that's not how most people think. And this top-down approach, And again, it gets back to what we were talking about at the beginning. Right? With the Declaration of Independence. Now we have to look at all these experts to make decisions for us. And are they really experts in this and everything else? Or do they really, are they so highly specialized that they don't see people want free agency on this? And I don't see this ending well, eventually, if this continues. In a related story, 10 states plan. Do you think I'm being unreasonable? This is from the Associated Press here. All right. 10 states plan to sue the EPA over standards for residential wood-burning stoves. Attorneys general from 10 states plan to sue the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, saying its failure to review and ensure emission standards for residential wood-burning stoves has allowed the continued sale of appliances that could worsen pollution. That means programs that encourage people to trade in older stoves and other wood-burning appliances, such as forced air furnaces, haven't necessarily improved air quality. So here we have these high standards. Believe me, I was personally impacted by this because I had to buy a new wood-burning stove for our second home. It's a 3-season home. All right. Big bucks. My father, in 1978, bought a stove for, I believe it was $75 or $100, wood-burning stove. Right? Hadn't used it in years and everything else. The story, not for this show. But we got it out, and we need a new wood-burning stove. Right? But we also needed some other work on the chimney and everything. And I needed to, and here's a little trivia for you. If you own a log home, and you heat it with or any home really, but especially a log home, and you heat it with wood, better make sure that you have an NFPA certification and a permit and everything on that fireplace, because that was like the first question that they asked. Did an NFPA license or whatever, I don't know what the appropriate term is, was that fireplace up to NFPA standards? And I said, as in the National Fire Protection Association? Yes. Well, it was when it was installed. And, well, I tell you what, we're not going to give you any coverage unless it's done blah, 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 and you have it read, okay, great, and then you have to go out and you had to get a contractor and everything else. It's a ton of money. But now we have here this story, state of New Jersey, right, is saying that the current standards and we have 10 states, Alaska, Illinois, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New Jersey, New York, Oregon, Vermont, and Washington, as well as the Puget Sound Clean Air Agency, which I never heard of. They allege that EPA's current standards aren't good enough and that even if they were, the agency's testing and certification program is ineffective and it has failed to ensure those standards. The EPA declined to comment. And the states allege that EPA's current standards must be reviewed and that its testing and certification program is so ineffective as have failed to ensure the existing standards. But I'm going to tell you what, this is all done in 2015. It sounds good. Right? Oh, it sounds good. They did. So look at this. But guess what? Now we have an issue. How many households in Fairbanks, right, did this? Like 3,000. Apparently, in Fairbanks, Alaska. And we do not know whether wood heaters in their homes meet standards and poor air quality continues to be a concern. So they pass this law, don't enforce it, or it's unenforceable, or it's not because I tell you what's new with these, there's a catalyst in there. You have to allow warm-up time for the catalyst to get up to heat and everything else, and it prevents all different types of PM, particulate matter issues. Okay, it's a great thing. We don't want air pollution. I get it. Believe me, I'm there. We don't want that. Air is great over here compared to what it used to be 30 years ago, 20 years ago even. We get it. But you cannot continue to go, write laws, wash our hands of it, and then everything's fine and dandy and great and wonderful, blah, blah, blah. And now let's move on to the next thing, and then the laws aren't effective. Now, there is an alternative here, and they better watch themselves. They're going to litigate and start suing. All these laws may be thrown out the window, and then we have nothing. Don't think that could happen? Have you watched the Supreme Court lately? A new law aims to protect pregnant workers, but our safety knowledge falls short. So I believe this is from England here. No? No, this is in the United States. So this is a criticism. This is in Truth Out. And this is a nonprofit news organization providing to independent reporting, commentary, diverse range of social justice issues. Okay, so it's you can't say I only pull from right-wing sources. I pull from several sources because when they're right, they're right. All right, if they're right, they're right. I'm not going to argue. Can we have other people do that? I don't know. I'm patting myself on the butt. You know what I mean. When they're right, they're right. New law aims to protect pregnant workers, but our safety knowledge falls short. Experts say not enough is known about which work circumstances chemical exposures are dangerous for pregnant people, formerly known as women. Vanessa Langus had always been a bit worried about the chemicals going on and on. So now this woman is working in a laboratory for molecular cloning. Now she's worried about chemicals and everything. Now, what this article was here was this. Langus and did some research online, but couldn't find much information what extra precautions she should take because of her pregnancy. Without realizing, she stumbled upon an often overlooked area of science and medicine, the occupational health of pregnant workers. Those who are pregnant often face hazardous circumstances doing jobs in which they must lift heavy objects, going on all different types of ergonomic stuff, and work with chemicals. Okay. At the end of last year, Congress approved the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, the law that requires employers to provide reasonable accommodation to women who get pregnant. But the new law, which took effect in June, has a big hole in it. Public health experts say not nearly is enough. I got to look up this law. Right? Let me write this down. Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. Okay, I'm going to say this much. I don't have it in front of me, but the NIOSH Guide to Chemical Hazards has something like 900 chemicals in it that it has exposure limits for. OSHA over 1,000, something like that. Whatever the number is relevant. How many chemicals are in the occupational environment, especially in a laboratory? 70 to 80,000 total throughout all things. That's what the often quoted statistic is. I haven't sat down there and counted. A lot of this stuff has been on the market so long that, got grandfathered in on a lot of stuff. But again, they have, here is a quote here, right? Occupational health really assumes a neutral body worker, said Swati Rassam, a public health scientist at the Program on Reproductive Health and the Environment at the University of California, San Francisco. By concentrating on this neutral body worker, occupational health as a field has overlooked the other stressors workers can face, either internal stressors such as pregnancy or external stressors such as psychosocial stress due to racism or food insecurity, Rassam said. Again, they don't have exposure standards for most of this stuff. So, my opinion, and what I've always told women, is if you're pregnant, you plan on being pregnant, consult your doctor, go to a medical person. And a lot of companies, especially in the hazardous waste business, have a policy that if you're pregnant, you need something in writing from your doctor that says you're medically clear to work, or they've gotten a toxicologist or industrial hygienist to get in there and have them be reassigned with no detrimental impact on their career, that sort of thing, in accordance with the laws out there. But again, if you're pregnant, this is something that you really need to do, and look this up on truthoutput.org. I'm going to go, and I know it's bad form, we're live on the air. Let me post this to Facebook. And then I'll do it on LinkedIn later on. Hold on. This is a law that I'm going to look a little bit more into. We may do a deep dive on this in the next few days. That one got by me last year. All right. How much more? We got 7 minutes left here. Here's another one. Falls are still a major killer in Britain, warns a charity. This injury, and this is apparently warns charity this Injury Awareness Week. Falls are the second leading cause of unintentional injury deaths worldwide, but do not have to happen. That's according to leading accident prevention charity, the Royal Society for the Prevention of Accidents. Falls are the most common cause of death in over 65s and 65 years old, I guess, and it costs the National Health Service $2 billion and over 4 million bed days every year, right? All because of falls. So, again, in this country too, falls, real bad. A new kind of disaster aid. How do you like this? Right? Basically, I'm going to translate this. It's from the New York Times. They're paying people to prepare for disasters. Not totally a unique idea, but here we go. A new kind of disaster aid. Pay people cash before disaster strikes. Experiments suggest that sums as low as $50 can help the world's poorest protect themselves and their property in ways they couldn't have otherwise. And that disasters can push the world's poorest deeper into poverty. Now aid agencies are trying something new. They're giving small bits of cash to people just before disaster strikes instead of waiting afterwards. While these experiments are in the early stages and there is little help on research on their effectiveness, there are signs they can help protect people. This approach has been tried in several circumstances, one in Mozambique, another one in Central America, and Mount Elgon, Uganda. So this is called anticipatory cash relief. Well, okay, I tell you what. Basically disaster preparation that the government pays for. Mixed emotions on this, with this. I think the government has to build capacity into the system, but what happens is only you are the expert on what you need. Only you are the expert on what you can do to protect your work area. This is along the lines of go to the worker and go to the worker, and the worker is the expert on the work, and the worker knows how to do the work safely, generally speaking, and you get the worker involved, then you get everybody on buy-in. Okay, great. I have mixed feelings on it. Government payout? No, I don't like that idea, but, whatever. This is from the Washington Post, and the risk of a major disaster at the nearby Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant terrifies Nadia, who lives in the area and could probably take the brunt of any deadly radioactive fallout. So yeah, we have nuclear reactors over there and you got bombs going off. You might have a problem. What are they doing? They have iodine tablets on hand to mitigate the effects of radiation poisoning, and doing some other stuff. This is why I gotta reissue that book, What's an update? Okay, sorry for interruption here. We have 2 minutes I'm going to do. Real simple here. Again, this made it to Reason Magazine. Federal safety regulators say 43% of fireworks are, illegal. I got the hiccups here. So 75% of firework injuries occur within a month of the 4th of July. We have an obsession with blowing things up here. That's all I have here. Enjoy your day off. We may be doing a program tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. For Safety Wars, this is Jim Posel. And if you need any consulting, 845-269-5772 or jim@safetywars.com.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.